The last thing they expected was to find themselves running for their lives on top of a school building. The mysterious figure had appeared out of nowhere and threatened them. He had challenged them to cross the bridge ahead, warning them of even greater dangers that lay beyond. Now, as the first rays of dawn touched the horizon, painting the sky with hues of orange and purple, our trio found themselves at the edge of the bridge. Lina, her heart pounding in her chest, looked at the towering structure ahead. Its shadow stretched long and menacing across the ground, seeming to mock their bravery. Beside her, Omar ran a hand through his short black hair, his athletic build tensed and ready for action. "Are we really gonna do this?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper despite his usual confidence. Meanwhile, Sara stood lost in thought, her long, wavy black hair framing her face like a dark curtain, her colorful casual outfit, a vibrant splash of color against the somber backdrop. A deep frown creased her forehead as she stared at the bridge. "I feel like we're walking into a trap," she murmured, her creative mind conjuring up images of danger and despair. Despite their fears, they had no choice but to move forward. As they stepped onto the bridge, the world around them shimmered, the familiar surroundings morphing into something strange and distorted. The once vibrant colors dulled, the sounds of the city fading into an eerie silence. They were no longer in the bustling urban jungle they called home. Instead, they found themselves in a world that seemed to be a reflection of their deepest fears and insecurities. For Lina, who had always excelled in academics, finding herself suddenly lost in a dense forest. All around her were books and papers scattered as if someone had torn apart her most prized possessions. A knapsack lay open nearby, revealing an assortment of scientific instruments, each item whispering tales of forgotten experiments and abandoned research. It was a chilling sight, a mockery of her intelligence and curiosity. In another part of this strange realm, Omar discovered he was not alone. Standing before him was another version of himself, stronger, more confident, radiating an aura of power that both intrigued and intimidated him. This alter ego, a darker reflection of his true self, challenged Omar, daring him to acknowledge the power that lay dormant within. Meanwhile, Sara found herself trapped in a labyrinth of mirrors and reflections. Each mirrored surface showed a distorted version of her, some beautiful, some flawed, some whole, some broken. These fragmented reflections taunted her, whispering doubts about her abilities and worth. It was a cruel game of hide and seek, where the seeker was her own self-doubt. But amidst their individual struggles, there was a constant, a silent observer watching from afar. The mysterious figure from the rooftop stood in the distance, his presence a looming threat. His eyes, hidden behind the shadows of his hood, seemed to gleam with an eerie light as he orchestrated their trials. Deep down, they knew they had to overcome these challenges, not just for themselves, but for each other. Their friendship, forged in the fires of adversity, was too strong to be broken by fear or doubt. The bonds of their camaraderie echoed in the depths of their hearts, urging them to keep going. Lina took a deep breath, her slim build tensing with resolve. Despite the mocking whispers of her past self, she knew she had come too far to turn back. She had glimpsed the vast potential within her and refused to let it be buried under the weight of expectations. With renewed determination, she pressed forward, ready to face whatever lay ahead. Omar, too, found strength in the silent support of his friends. The challenge before him was not just a test of his physical prowess, but also of his character. In the face of his darker self, he realized that true strength lay not in power for power's sake, but in the courage to protect those he cared about. With a determined nod, he accepted the challenge, ready to prove that even a seemingly ordinary teenager could rise to extraordinary heights. Sara, on the other hand, had to confront a different kind of darkness, the darkness within herself. The fractured reflections mocked her creativity, reminding her of times when her imagination had gotten the better of her. But amidst the cacophony of criticism, she heard a faint voice, her true self, whispering for her to believe in her own worth. With a shaky hand, she reached out to one of the fragmented reflections, determined to piece together the shattered fragments of her confidence. As they journeyed deeper into their individual trials, the music swelled, a haunting melody underscoring their psychological battles. The once vibrant colors of their world seemed to drain away, leaving behind a stark, monochrome palette that mirrored the bleakness of their emotions. The very essence of their being was being tested, pushed to the brink of despair. Yet even in the darkest depths of their despair, they held on to the memory of their friendship, the belief that they were not alone in this terrifying ordeal. For Lina, the library transformed into a battleground where she fought against hordes of monstrous creatures that represented her suppressed emotions and untapped potential. With every defeated foe, she grew stronger, more confident in her abilities. The books she once cherished now became weapons in her arsenal, each page a shield against the encroaching darkness. Omar, meanwhile, found himself in a world of illusions, a distorted version of reality where he was revered as a hero, showered with adulation and respect. Yet this world was built on a foundation of lies, a cruel deception that tempted him with the allure of fame and fortune. To escape this web of deceit, he had to confront the darker version of himself, a formidable opponent who embodied the corrupt aspects of Omar's personality. The clash between these two Omars was epic, a struggle not just of physical strength, but of moral integrity. Sara's journey took her through a surreal landscape of shifting sands and crumbling ruins. Here, her creativity manifested as powerful allies, helping her navigate the treacherous terrain and overcome the illusions that threatened to consume her. However, these creations also became her greatest challenge, for they were as fickle as the wind, as elusive as the desert mirage. Sara had to learn to harness the power of her imagination while remaining grounded in reality. All the while, the mysterious figure watched their every move, his presence a looming threat that underscored the gravity of their trials. He was the architect of this nightmare, the puppet master pulling the strings of their fears. And as they grew stronger, he became increasingly agitated, his silence speaking volumes of his growing frustration. However, he had underestimated the bonds that tied our trio together. For as they faced their individual trials, their thoughts of each other gave them strength. Lina, remembering Omar's unwavering determination, pushed through the darkest moments. Omar, recalling Lina's quick wit and bravery, refused to be consumed by despair. And Sara, thinking of Omar's kindness and compassion, found the courage to embrace her own imperfections. Just when their hopes began to dwindle and despair threatened to engulf them, they spotted a glimmer of light in the distance, a beacon of hope calling out to them. With renewed determination, they surged forward, their individual trials fading into the background as they raced towards that light. And there, in the distance, silhouetted against the light, stood the mysterious figure. He had orchestrated their trials, but why? What was his purpose in testing their strength and resilience? The answers, they knew, lay ahead. As they approached, the figure turned, revealing a face that was both familiar and unsettling. It was one of their own, a friend they recognized, yet something was different, corrupted. The realization hit them like a tidal wave. This was not a new enemy. It was one of them, twisted and warped by the same trials they had faced. Their reunion was bittersweet, a stark reminder of the toll their ordeal had taken. The once vibrant colors of their world were slowly returning, but the scars of their experiences remained. The bridges ahead, they knew, would be even more difficult. The darkness they had faced had been a mere prelude to the challenges that lay in their path. Yet despite the daunting trials that awaited, they no longer felt truly alone. They had faced their deepest fears and emerged stronger, more resilient. They had learned that their greatest strength lay in their unbreakable bond of friendship and trust. Together, they were ready to face whatever came next, knowing that their camaraderie was their most potent weapon. As the sun rose higher in the sky, casting long shadows across the land, our trio stood united, ready to venture forth into the unknown. Their journey had been fraught with peril, but their friendship had only grown stronger in the face of adversity. Hand in hand, they embraced the uncertainty of the road ahead, knowing that together they could conquer any challenge. The educational message is clear. Facing one's weaknesses and understanding oneself is the key to growth and maturity. By confronting their deepest fears and insecurities, the characters learn valuable lessons about themselves and their relationships. Additionally, the story emphasizes the significance of looking inward rather than outward for solutions. True strength is often found in one's beliefs and values rather than in physical or material possessions. Furthermore, the story highlights the importance of companionship and trust. By supporting each other and believing in one another's abilities, the characters are able to overcome their individual struggles and emerge stronger as a result.